It's time for a special edition of House to Home. House to Home Senior Living is a special series to offer help and direction to those facing that next stage in life or those family and friends helping. House to Home Senior Living is brought to you by our friends at Rada Paint with support from Smooth Transitions and Orchard Crest Retirement Community. Here's your House to Home Senior Living host, Clyde Hawsey.
And welcome again to House to Home Senior Living. I'm Clyde Hawsey. For those of you that have never joined us before, I, over the years, have done quite a few shows with home improvements. And what's happening is that our lives do change, as I have changed in the last 20, 30 years that I've known people like yourself seeing us on the internet, or it could be on the TV. But our needs have changed, and I invited a very special guest here today. Todd with Dishman Dodge, that's all you have to know, Todd at Dishman Dodge, who is working with them all the time. He is going to join me here today, and we're going to be talking about automobiles and how mom and dad, and we are looked at as kind of a guideline, if I could say, Todd, the younger generation, for the cars that they have, or when should they move on with another car. And I don't have these answers. I'm trying to find some for myself. So Todd, join us. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you
Todd.
for having me.
Thank you. My first question, Todd. Mom and Dad, we are looking at maybe changing cars. What are some of the questions? This is just not, this is their last time around, shall we say, of buying a car.
Sure.
And I've asked you, and folks, I did bait him a little bit because I've asked you that question before. He says, well, don't get a big high four-wheeler, right?
Correct.
So what type of things, if we want to be looking for cars for Mom and Dad, should we take into evaluation, identifying?
Sure. And that's a great question. There's a lot of variables that the buyer, especially the senior buyer, should take into consideration. And the main question they have to ask themselves, and maybe even advance out and ask their friends, is, what's my true objective in replacing my vehicle?
I like that.
Why am I replacing my vehicle? Is it because it's mechanical, having difficulty? Is it too old for them, perhaps? But that's one of the main questions they have to ask themselves, is what's the objective? And once they understand that it's a replacement because of mechanical failure or drivability, or one element that a lot of people don't look at is the height of the vehicle. Do I have to step up?
And I wasn't being funny when I said that, but you mentioned that one to me. A lady did say, we got the wrong car, right?
Correct. Have lots of buyers that need to test out their vehicles, but over the years they become more restricted on their movement. So when they go to get into their vehicle, they open up the door, and it's no longer something that they can lift themselves up or kneel down into the vehicle. So they're looking at vehicles that accommodate their needs.
I have a question for you, folks. I can recall back when that there was a car that had a seat that swung out a little bit. Does that even exist anymore?
No.
No. See, folks, that's how old I am. I don't know. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Long time ago. That one's gone. A couple of things that I want to be looking at is that with seniors in buying cars, they don't like change. Todd's had to deal with me before, so he understands what change is put up with. Am I right?
Correct.
So how much change, hey, Mom, you'll enjoy this. Well, that isn't the point. What will they enjoy? What will I enjoy? What do I need? Is that another part of this question that you're thinking about?
In dealing with the objective of what the vehicle, their new vehicle is going to be used for, is now that I'm looking at these vehicles, what is necessary that I need? What's the comfort that I need? Hands-free, for example, is no longer a comfort, almost a necessity when you're driving down the road. So these are options that they need to look at and make sure that the vehicles that they're looking at have these backup cameras. They have 360-degree cameras now. So there's a lot of options that they need to look at, write them all on paper. Part of that process, again, is patience. Got to be patient when you're writing all this down.
My patience at the time, my wife says, you need more patience. I said, yes, dear. And the issue is that I need to have patience to understand how the system works. It isn't the system that's screwed up. Todd said it was probably the user, right? In some cases. And that's one of the important things you need to understand. Am I right with that?
Yes.
Don't get a lot of whistles and bells. That's just me. But some people are really frustrated with all the extra whistles and bells, right?
I spent a considerable amount of time what's called delivery of a vehicle last week, and typically the first go around is an hour. In this instance, the person was in their 80s, and it was 3 hours, which is fine. When you are making that choice to get that new vehicle, make sure the person that you're dealing with on the seller or the professional salesperson understands it's going to take time and patience for them to give you the instructions on all these options. An average vehicle now, if you were to buy a 2017 or 18, is going to have about 100 options.
100, he said. Wow.
Or more.
Or more. Mine still got or more, I think.
Yeah, and most cars do have or more, and you have to articulate to the sales professional, this is why I'm buying this vehicle.
Well, let's be a little bit on the serious side, and I'm sorry to say that because, folks, I'm having some fun here, but the issue is that when you're buying a car for your folks or working with your folks to buy another car, or change their vehicle they're in because of mechanical, and we're going to get into the mechanical end of it, but the point being is that what are some of the real important things? Do we need to have a similarity of that's a speedometer or is this a number? I mean, what are some of the things that people should try to look for mom and dad when they're buying that car? How do you guide them along?
So when you say speedometer, nowadays it's digital.
I used the wrong term again. See,
but
that's
no, it's still a speedometer, but it's in a digital form and not an analog form.
Okay.
So being able to read it, being able to understand it, what's happening, because the display now or the cluster will have different diagnostic tools that you can look at and understand what's going on with the vehicle. And they need to understand what all those numbers are. What the lights that illuminate on the dash are. So when they're looking at new vehicles, it's again articulating to the sales professional. I don't know if I want all these bells and whistles to pop up on the screen.
Right. You know, that's one of the reasons I brought Todd in, because he can explain. If he can get me that I can understand, then that's part of the issues that don't and say, well, they told you how to use. Didn't they tell you how to? You know what? My retention with some of these things. That's why I have grandkids.
True story.
And that's why we need to keep it, as you said, the digital feeding. And again, I think that one of the things I'm building up to, folks, and that's why I asked Todd to come in. He's my backup man. When I need a problem with my car, I don't even hesitate, because you need to have something to back up. And Todd, that's why I brought you in here today, because I want people to feel comfortable and say, you know, I heard this guy on the computer and on the voice, on the pad, and we're talking about cars, and we were thinking about what we need to do with that. So, Todd, when I get right down to it, I'm going to put this in right now, folks. How do we get hold of you so our viewing audience can be looking at it?
They can certainly call Dishman and ask for Todd.
Sure.
And they can email me if they're internet active at toddT@dishmandodge.com.
That's a simple one.
Just toddT@dishmandodge.com, or direct phone number, which is the best way to get a hold of me, which is 509-435-3770. And I'm available 24/7. Got to be careful there. But I am. If I don't answer, leave a message.
Exactly. And that is the real true fact, because I've received calls from Todd. Why didn't you answer your phone? Well, it was late. Okay, I was still working. And Todd does do that. And so that's why you need to, folks. It's no different than when we were talking with Ryan McNeese, the attorney. You need to have something to back you up on these ventures that you're going at. Let's talk about, the car mom and dad have got, but it needs a little bit of repair on it. How do we do evaluation, and how do we determine, is it really worth a new transmission, someone said? Is this like pulling teeth?
This is one of my favorite areas in dealing with seniors, if you will. The vehicle that they've had, if they had it for 5 years, 10 years, 8 years, and what is starting to happen on the vehicle mechanically. So there's two ways to look at it. If the vehicle is becoming too much of a money pit, that's an evaluation that you have to make yourself aware of. The other is what's failing on the vehicle mechanically something of an indicator. And this is what you rely on
That's
your
good.
service advisor to help you and assist you along. So you develop a relationship with your service advisor, and when the time comes, they're going to advise you. Service advisor going to advise you
Good point.
on what's happening or occurring with this vehicle on a reoccurring or habitual circumstance in which the service advisor says, I think it might be time to look for a new vehicle. It's the unknown that's the biggest dramatic part of owning a vehicle is having that check engine light on. And they have that check engine light. It's the unknown. What does that mean? It's going to blow up? Does that mean, do I have 2 miles to go? Can I continue to drive it? Should I run? So bringing that vehicle in and having your service advisor that you have a relationship with give you that understanding of the diagnostic on that light, gives you a peace of mind. But at the same time, ask them, what's that an indicator of? Should I start looking now? Am I a year out? Am I 2 years out? The other indicator is miles. Comfort level of miles. In many years, people have owned cars, and if it reached 100,000 miles, that was it. The car was done.
Yeah,
well, now the car, we've gone beyond that to 200,000 miles.
Really, 200,000?
200,000. There's currently dealerships in Spokane that sell predominantly 150,000 mile and up vehicles.
I had no idea of that.
Yeah. And so the people who wanted that particular car, but it wasn't in their resource to get it when it was brand
Financially,
new. Financially, now they can buy it when it's 150,000 because it still has 50,000 or more to go. So people who have owned their cars for 100,000 miles, you might want to have that talk.
Can I throw out a comment, buyer beware at that point?
It's always buyer beware.
Okay.
Always buyer
I know
beware.
Todd pretty well. He'll tell me the truth. And folks, you need to listen to this.
And along with the patience, you have to be always with your guard up. And there's nothing wrong with being astute to what's being told to you.
You're not second guessing anybody. You're just being astute, right?
You're being astute. And it's better in working with people that you not only trust, but people that perhaps were referred to you. We don't use you don't use referrals enough, and when you know that you need a new vehicle or you're believing you need to get a referral from a friend. Who have they worked with?
Some past experiences.
Correct.
Very important. When you're buying cars, again, you need to, and what Todd is saying here is that you need to establish a relationship, because a car is not a cheap item anymore. I mean, it's a major ticket item next to owning a home. I would have to say it's close to the big numbers. Am I correct?
Absolutely. They're extending the term in which you can purchase that vehicle because the vehicles are no longer, $20,000. These days you can purchase a truck, for example, which that's what I specialize in, but
sure.
A truck is $72,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's why establishing the priority and the relationships. And that's one of the things that Todd and I are going to be doing with more shows coming up, is how to establish, I need a car, but I don't know where to go. Well, we're going to establish in the community, and that's one of the things with Dishman Dodge, I have to be honest with you. They have been such a community base, and Todd's been there for years. He's not as old as I am, but he's been there for years, and the establishment is that you're respected for your thoughts and your comments. And even if you're in the process of not even talking to you at this time, they could come and say, hey, I've been thinking and I've talked to a few people. What is your thoughts? And that's what I'm trying to do here today, is establish the credibility. What are some of the other things? And again, we have about 3 to 4 minutes to be talking here. What are some of the other items that you want to hand out today? And we've got more to visit, I know that. But what is one of the things you want to look at here today?
Well, as I was saying, that referrals are essential. That you talk to your friends, your relatives, and say, I'm interested perhaps in starting to look at new vehicles. Where have you shopped? Who have you dealt with? Making sure that there's reputable people that you introduce yourself to. Even better, if the person, a relative or a friend, knows someone personally at a dealership, have them take you down there, introduce them, making sure that you're comfortable at that level. Dealerships as a whole, they look for profit. I think that it's more important to look for relationship and I think Dishman is a key.
Good point.
Is a key dealership that looks for relationships. We're community driven. We look at helping the community. Some of the signs that you look at, especially given the season or given the streets here in Spokane, is
they're challenging, aren't they?
Be aware of what kind of tires that you're purchasing with this new vehicle, making sure that they're the correct tires, correct wheels. There's a lot of wheels out there, and there's a particular manufacturer that we don't sell as a new line at Dishman, but there's a manufacturer that have what are called low profile wheels, which leaves very little rubber on your wheel. So when you hit a divot in the road, there's usually damage done not only to the rubber but to the wheel. So be careful of that, how low it is to the ground. There's a size 9.5 inches. They call it the pumpkin distance, so you can clear these little berms of snow.
You know, these little humps that are in the parking lots?
Correct. So you want to make sure that you're buying a vehicle that's going to not only serve your needs, but not only is the value a concern or an impact to your life, but the trauma of having the vehicle broken down.
Yeah.
So make sure it has a good service history.
Well, you know, and the last thing I need to be thinking about is to get a call from mom or dad or my loved ones and saying, "Hey, guess what? I'm broken down, or I'm at the tow shop." You know, what do we do at that particular point? So that's why I brought Todd in here again. Todd, how do we make contact again with you? And because we're going to bring this to a close right now, but let's.
No problem. Just call Dishman Dodge at 509-924-3250. Ask for Todd. My direct line is 509-435-3770. Todd T at dishmandodge.com.
Well, I've established a relationship, and that's what we're going to be doing here, is that you're going to see more of Todd, because I want to establish a relationship with you and him and I so that we can be talking about this educationally wise for our loved ones or for ourselves, because when otherwise we're all kind of alone. But there's some real good thoughts here. You know, get good referrals and establish that relationship of what you're buying, and then you can actually then go to the circuit board and say, well, I want that color and I want that color. But the issue is that you have established some direction, and Todd's going to help you. Sometimes he says no because it's not going to work for you.
True.
And so those are the things I wanted to share today. Todd, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and joining us and listening with Todd and myself, a subject that senior citizens really never think about or even talk about, but we all seem to be faced with it one way or the other. And that's just another step that we're doing, Todd, here on House to Home Senior Living. See you next time.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
House to Home is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask Clyde a question, recommend a guest, and watch this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. House to Home Senior Living is brought to you by our friends at Rada Paint, with support from Orchard Crest Retirement Community and Smooth Transitions. We wish you a great day.